Hello and welcome to the top 10 Espadas in Bleach Brave Souls. Now we know that we're gonna get some new Espadas soon, so before that I thought it'd be fun to see which of the Espadas that we have right now rank among the top 10. As with my other affiliation videos, only those who have the Espada affiliation will be eligible for this list. So characters such as Nell, who previously was an Espada but does not currently have an Espada affiliation character in Bleach Brave Souls, will not be eligible for this list. With that out of the way, let's begin.
そうか、欲しいのならばくれてやろう。ダークショコラドン。
Starting things off, we have a character that we're gonna see very soon, Harribel, Cacao Society Edition. I have to say, out of all the Harribels, this one is my favorite. Mostly because I like magic related stuff, and I think the design of this character's attacks is actually really cool. Aesthetics aside though, this character is really good and really useful. She's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and she's ranged with strong attacks that are designed to keep enemies away, which plays to this character's strength and makes her really useful in a variety of situations. For example, she's an extremely good character to use in guild quests, thanks in part to her strong attack 2 being a crawling vortex move. It pushes enemies away, and it really helps to rack up the combo. Plus she's got a boosted strong attack recharge link, so building this character correctly, you can pretty much just spam your strong attacks and raise your combo incredibly fast. And that's not all, a crawling vortex is also really good in Senkaimon quests, since it really helps pushing the enemies away from you just before they use their special, and that gets to be really important in the later floors. Her strong attack 1 is also pretty effective in pushing enemies away, though not as much as her strong attack 2. Finally, we have her strong attack 3, which is unfortunately not a full screen. It does kind of hold her back a little bit, but she's still more than good enough to be on this list.
Respira. Kudara.
Coming in at number 9, we have Barragan, Mind Barragan to be more exact. And you know, if this guy is at number 9, then this list is full with top tier characters, since Barragan is still one of the greatest PvE characters ever. He's got a pretty high SP as well as Frenzy, and can inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks, which is actually where this character shines because his strong attack 2 and strong attack 3 hit a ridiculous number of times, and have a high possibility of inflicting the weakening. Not to mention that he has a strong attack recharge link, so if you build this character correctly, you can just constantly spam that. And this is actually very useful because weakening lowers both the attack and the defense of the enemies, so it allows you to deal more damage. This is useful in any situation, whether it's PvE or PvP, though I wouldn't recommend PvP, since these days it's mostly dominated by attack characters. Still, it allows you and any of your teammates to deal more damage, and in Senkaimon, it lets you clear a floor faster, since the enemies take more damage, and you can use his weakening abilities to get past several bosses. Honestly, I would have loved to put this character higher on this list, and he more than likely would have been if his SP was higher. Don't get me wrong, it is still really high, but these days characters are averaging around 770 SP, so unfortunately this is as high as he goes, though I do dread the next version of this character.
見たまえ、僕の素晴らしい実験の成果だよ。君にはお似合いさ。
And at number 8, we have a character that took the number 1 spot last time I made this list, Espada number 8, Szayelaporro, how fitting, who's got a pretty high attack, as well as a boosted normal attack damage link, and debilitating poison on his normal attack, strong attack 3, and his special. In addition to that really high attack and boosted link, he's also got a plus 40 bruiser, and a strong attack 2 that's a boost move. Not only that, it's also a heal move and the only one of its kind. Unfortunately though, he does not have enhancer, so the boost only lasts for about 10 seconds. And even though it is a heal move, it does still take the regular 40 seconds to recharge that a boost move does, which isn't really that big of a deal since he's a normal attack character. Speaking of which, his normal attacks deal a good amount of damage, especially when he's boosted, since his attack goes up by 33%. Unfortunately though, he is an older character, and back then most of the normal attacks that were ranged were collision based, meaning that once they hit an enemy they disappear instead of piercing through them. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but obviously piercing attacks are much better, and attacks like these take a little longer to finish a mission. Still, this character is an excellent support character who can also deal a ton of damage, and despite being well over a year old at this point, he's held up incredibly well.
力の差を教えてやる。セロオスキュラス。
Next up we have a character who is a perfect example of how the game changing can actually bring up their utility in the game. Since in my previous list he actually was ranked below Szayelaporro and Barragan, but thanks to both Guild Quest and the Senkaimon Quest, his usefulness has skyrocketed, since he's one of the best characters for both, thanks largely to his strong attack 2, which is a vortex move. So just like Harribel, he also gets the same advantages, which is an increase in combo and a pushback of enemies. Another similarity the two have is their strong attack 1, since they're both very similar and they push enemies back. Strong attack 3 on the other hand is completely different. Sure, neither one of theirs is full screen and they have that in common. However, Ulquiorra's strong attack 3 is a charge move that doubles in strength when fully charged and deals a ton more damage even though Harribel's SP is higher. Ulquiorra also has a Soul Reaper killer, which definitely comes in handy, and his special can inflict debilitating burn, in addition to having that plus 40 devastation. Ulquiorra has always been a fan favorite character, and I'm really glad they remade the Segunda Etapa one, since I feel it really does the character justice.
水の戦いで私に勝てるとでも思ったか。そこで永遠に夏を満喫していろ。
Up next is the second Harribel on this list, Swimsuit Harribel, who like most of the characters on the list so far also has a really high SP as well as Frenzy. In fact, much like the first Harribel, her SP is also at 741 and she also has Frenzy. She also has a strong attack recharge link, although hers is not boosted, and she's also got a hollow killer. But that's about as far as the similarities go, since the actual attacks for these characters is very different. This Harribel is a melee character and her strong attack 3 is a charge move, doubling in strength when fully charged and hitting harder than her special if you build her correctly. Granted, even when fully charged it's still not full screen, but that's a small price to pay when you have the power of a special every 20 seconds or so. Speaking of which, her special, in addition to being full screen and having a plus 40 devastation, also inflicts weakened attack. Harribel is also completely immune to freezing, which is a pretty nice advantage to have, especially now, since we're seeing a lot more use of status elements in PvE areas. Also, what is it with Mind Espadas having a strong attack recharge link?
退屈な戦いだったぜ。インレルシャット。そこで寝てろ。
Next on the list is Nnoitra Gilga, Parasol Edition, who in my opinion is actually one of the most useful characters to come out, not just because he has a really high SP as well as Frenzy, but also because he can inflict debilitating burn, which is one thing that skyrocketed in usefulness thanks to some Senkaimon Quest and the bosses that are almost impossible to beat if you don't have the required characters. Both debilitating burn and debilitating poison has been incredibly useful these days, but Nnoitra specifically is one of the best ones to use, since his strong attack 1 has a 180% mag and hits a ridiculous number of times, greatly increasing the probability of inflicting the burn, especially at close range. That's not all. Much like the last two characters, this character also has a charge move for his strong attack 3, so even without the debilitating burn it would still do a lot of damage. Plus he's got a strong attack recharge link, so you can spam these attacks as much as you'd like. Nnoitra also has a decent normal attack. The actual attack stat may not be super high, but it's still pretty decent with a plus 20 bruiser, not to mention that it's piercing, which helps increase the combo and also helps with the probability of inflicting burn. Finally, we have this character special, which is guaranteed to inflict the burn and also leaves behind the enemy with weakened defense, allowing you to deal even more damage with your follow-up attacks. He's definitely one of my favorite characters to have come out last year, and I strongly recommend you guys try to get him next time he comes out. Never in a million years would I have ever thought that I would actually put this character on the top 10 list, but here we are. At number 4 we have Luppi, the short-lived Espada number 6, who has a really high SP as well as Frenzy and a strong attack recharge link. He can also inflict debilitating paralysis on all of his attacks, and the strong attack recharge definitely helps with that, since you can increase the percent and spam the strong attacks. Now unfortunately his strong attack 3 isn't full screen, though it is really close. But his truly most impressive strong attack is his strong attack 2, which hits a ridiculous number of times and actually has some pretty good range for a strong attack 2. Since it hits an above average number of times, it has a higher chance to inflict debilitating paralysis. Aside from that though, there's really not much else to this character. Honestly, most of the characters on this list would have been higher than him if it weren't for that really high SP. And I can't wait to see what other Arrancar's K-Lab decides to 5-star, since I didn't really expect this one to ever be one.
ハロウィンナイトだ。私の音色に溺れる。
Wow, last year truly was a year for Harribel, since this is the third one to come out and the third one on this list. Halloween Harribel has a really high attack, as well as a plus 50 bruiser, and debilitating paralysis on all of her attacks including her normal attack. Not only that, but she's also got a damage reduction link and poise, and it's the combination of poise, damage reduction, and debilitating paralysis that makes her a fairly decent PvP character, since she doesn't really stagger, and the only way she can actually be stopped is to be frozen or killed, since she has complete immunity to being paralyzed. And although her SP is low, she does still have a plus 40 berserker, and her strong attacks don't go to waste. As I mentioned earlier, they all have a chance to inflict debilitating paralysis, but her strong attack 2 has a 180% mag, and hits a pretty good number of times for a character that's not SP based. And unlike a lot of NAD characters with poise, she actually has a useful killer since it's Soul Reaper killer. And it makes her not just good in PvP, but also PvE, since she's really good at auto with. And not just auto, she's good in any situation where the Soul Reapers are the enemies. It's really rare to get a character with one of the 3 better killers that's also useful in PvP, and I for one am happy that Harribel is one of them.
退屈だぜ。
てめえは楽しませてくれるんだろうな。
Nobody was expecting this gacha to even come out, but out of it we did get one of the best Espadas in the game, the tech version of Grimmjow, who in addition to having one of the best designs in my opinion, also has a really high SP as well as frenzy. Grimmjow can also inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks, and they all have pretty good range, with a full screen strong attack 3, a strong attack 2 that's a hybrid vortex move, and a lunge move strong attack 1. They also hit harder thanks to his strong attack damage link. Grimmjow is also one of few characters with a no affiliation killer, and though that number is increasing, it's still somewhat of a rare thing to have, and can come in handy in a variety of situations, more often in Senkaimon, where the killers are multiplied. Speaking of which, this character is actually really useful in Senkaimon, since he can inflict debilitating weakening on everything he has, and that's one of the best things you can do when it comes to the bosses. I expect that killer is also gonna come in handy a lot more soon, since they keep giving it to people, and I expect we're gonna see a lot more raids where there's no affiliation enemies. I actually hope they continue with the Knight of Demons banner this year, since the design for everyone in this banner was actually really good. Now before we get to number 1, here are a few more Espadas that are also really good, but didn't make it on this list for one reason or another.
どうしてもというのなら特別に見せてあげても構わないよ。
あんたを一人にはさせねえ。孤独なのは俺だけで十分だ。行くぜ。 グランレイセロ！さっさと死にやがれ！グランレイセロ！デスガロ！うら！行こう！とどめと行くぜ。 見届けるがいい。すべてを無に返すこの力を。トルメンタでムルシエラゴ。
Finally, at number 1, we have Ulquiorra, who I'm sure a lot of you saw coming. Ulquiorra set a new norm for a high SP, and he's got frenzy. He can also inflict weakening with his normal attack, strong attack 1, strong attack 3, and his special. Granted, it's not debilitating weakening, but it's still very useful. And that's just the start of this character because he has a lot of things going for him. For one thing, he's got a decent attack, with good range, good speed, and a plus 20 bruiser, and he's got poise. In fact, he's actually pretty good in PvP, thanks largely in part to that poise and that fast attack with weakening, but also largely thanks to his strong attack 2. It may not inflict weakening, but it's a boost move with an enhancer that essentially makes his attack over 850. But that's not all, it's also a very unique boost move, since in addition to boosting the entire team, it's also a shield move that puts 3 barriers on Ulquiorra and 1 on each of the teammates. This not only makes him great in PvP, but also really useful in PvE, since it makes him one of the best support characters. And if that weren't enough, he also has a boosted strong attack damage link, and his strong attack 3 is a charge move that doubles in strength when fully charged. This character has an unbelievable amount going for him, and I cannot wait to see what other original Espadas K-Lab is gonna make, because if they can do this with Ulquiorra, imagine what they're gonna do with the other 9 and Nell. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.